guys, welcome to my next tutorial, the Protoss Basics. If you want to check out the previous tutorials I've done, you can go ahead and click the annotations. But for now, this is going to be basically how buildings work, how the tiering up and your units and everything work for Protoss. So as you hopefully know, you can't actually build any structures as Protoss without a pylon, so we'll go ahead and build that. So one thing for Protoss is that all your structures and units have a shield, and you can see that everything here has this blue bar above the health bar. The green is the health, and the blue is the shield. And as Protoss, the shield can regenerate. So when a unit or a building is being attacked, they have to get through the shield first before they can actually deal any damage. And over time, if it's left alone, the shield will regenerate. So just doing a bit of damage to a shield and not losing any health, they haven't actually done anything to you at all. So let's go ahead and build our first basic building. With all the races, the first thing you have to choose is you can either build your first production building, which is Protoss is a gateway, or you can build another main building, which is Protoss is the nexus. So you can either go straight for production, or you can be a little greedy and get two bases straight away. We're going to go for the gateway first, so we'll put that down. And as Protoss, you need a lot of gas, so we'll go straight away and put the assimilator down so that once that's done, we can start collecting from this Vespene geyser. Another thing unique to Protoss is the Nexus energy, which it can be used for chrono boost. Now, what this does, it costs 25 energy, you can see down in the corner there, of which the Nexus has 100, and that regenerates over time. It will speed up whatever that building is doing. If it's making a unit or if it's researching an upgrade, it'll do it faster. So if I create a couple of probes here, I can click Chrono Boost on the Nexus, and you'll see it circling around there, and these probes will create much faster. So that's really important for Protoss to keep using that, because your energy will continually go up. You can see it's increasing there. So you need to keep using it, make sure that you're not wasting any of your energy, because once it gets to 100, it just can't get any more. So now our gateway is ready, and our very first basic unit after the probe is the Zealot. That is the most basic army unit that Protoss has. So we'll go and build one of those. We'll rally over there just in case we get attacked. But now that we've built the gateway, you'll see that we can now build a cybernetics core. This was grayed out before. You need the gateway to be able to build this. So we'll put that down. See, our Zealot's just popped out here now. He's got his shield as well. Now once the cybernetics core comes down, that means that we can start researching Warp Gate. And what Warp Gate means is that you can change all your gateways into Warp Gates, which means instead of when you build a Zealot, instead of having this bar, which takes a long time here to produce one, you can just warp in a Zealot, which is much faster, and you can do it anywhere within a pylon's radius. You don't have to do it anywhere near the warp gate itself. So we'll research that so you can see what happens when that's finished. You can see it in action. And now that our cybernetics core is down, we can start making some advanced structures. So once you've got that, you have the choice of these three. You can go for the robotics facility, which I talked about in the first tutorial. You can go for a Stargate, which is all flying units, as you might have guessed. Or you can go for a Twilight Council, which is needed to create Templars of both kinds. You have High Templars and Dark Templars. And it also means that you can make upgrades. It's mainly if you're building the Twilight Council first, you're probably going for cheese. So you can see I'm getting attacked a little bit there. Took out all those Zerglings there. But this Zealot, you can see, he didn't take any damage to his health. He just took a little bit to his shield, which you can see is now going back up. It goes up pretty fast when they're out of combat, and now he's back absolutely 100% again. This guy did lose a little bit of health, but his shield again has regenerated, so they'll have to get through that again next time. So let's go ahead and make the robotics facility. You can also see now, I can make a warp gate. So you go here, it's hotkey of G, transform this into a warp gate. It does it pretty fast, you don't have to wait very long for that. But once that's done, you can just press W and that will select all your warp gates. So you don't even have to hotkey that yourself. So you press W, and then you can get a unit here. Let's build a stalker. Now you need the cybernetics core to be able to build stalkers, that's why they're available now. And you can see I can put it anywhere in the radius of this pylon. So I can just click, put it there, it'll warp in, and it's incredibly fast compared to building them out of a gateway. So now our robotics facility is done, and you can see that that's unlocked the robotics bay. So we'll put that down. And what that will mean is you can see this grayed out here, the Colossus. That will unlock the Colossus, which is extremely important for Protoss. You will see them in most games. Another unit that is unlocked by building the cybernetics core is a sentry. So let's build one of those. These are also extremely important for Protoss. These have energy and they can do a few things. The cheapest thing they can do is create a force field, which is very important in battles to try and get good positioning. You can also use it to defend yourself, like blocking off this ramp. I can put a force field here, and then my enemy can't get up that ramp. And it's also useful during a battle to push the enemy units where you want them to be, where your units can be most effective. It can also put up a Guardian Shield, which puts up a pretty large radius shield that will protect your units within it from ranged attacks. It can also do Hallucination, which creates a fake unit that you can control, but it can't attack anything. So it is really useful. It may be if you're in a battle and you want to make your opponent think that you've got more than you have, or that you've got a unit that you're not actually building. It can also be used to make flying units that can go and scout the enemy base, because they are still just as fast as the actual unit will be. Another of the basic buildings that you've got is the Forge. Now this is your building to create upgrades for your ground units. So you have separate upgrades for ground and air. The air upgrades come from the cybernetics core. The Forge you can build straight away as well. But building the Forge actually unlocks this last of the basic buildings here, the cannon. Cannons are very powerful because you can get them really, really early in the game. You could build a Forge first and get a cannon straight away. It's also used in cheese a lot. You should hear a lot about cannon rushing, and that basically means that you go straight for a Forge and then put a cannon in your opponent's base, because you don't need anything else but Forge and cannon to be able to pull that off. Now let's build the Twilight Council. Now my Twilight Council is ready. You can see I'm able to build Templar Archives and a Dark Shrine. Usually you would only go for one of these during a game, but they are both very powerful units depending on what you need. So now that our Templar Archives and Dark Shrine are done, we go to our gateway, and it has unlocked the last of the units here. So we can build High Templars and Dark Templars. So we'll make a Dark Templar. These are another thing that are often used for cheese, but they are also just very useful. The most useful thing about them is that they have a permanent cloak. So unless your opponent has detection, they can't see them, which is why they are used for cheese, because early on in the game you're likely to not have detection. Another thing is they are also extremely good at killing workers. They take them out in 2 hits extremely quickly. With the Templar Archives, on top of it allowing you to build High Templars out of gateways or warp gates, it also allows you to research Psionic Storm. Storm is one of the 2 spells that the High Templars have, and it's extremely powerful. It puts down a splash of energy on an area that lasts for 4 seconds and causes up to 80 damage to every unit in the area. That includes your own. You can actually attack your own units with this, so it is dangerous to use it If you're in a really close fight, you've got to be careful. But it is extremely powerful against enemy units. You see, I'll throw a storm down here, just so you can see. And they died straight away. And my zealots did take some damage there. But Storm can do a lot of damage very quickly to a large portion of an army. The second spell that High Templars have is called Feedback, and this means that you can target enemy units that have energy, and it deals damage proportionate to the amount of energy that they have. So you want to be using it on things that have as full energy as they can to do the maximum amount of damage. It deals 1 damage per point of energy. So that is amazing for taking out units very, very quickly. If they have full energy, you can one-shot things with that. Now, another thing that you can do with both Dark and High Templars is merge 2 into an Archon. You can sacrifice them so that they join together to create a new unit. So you click this, and they'll start morphing in. This does take a little time, so if you're trying to do it during a battle, you are vulnerable while it's morphing. But the Archon itself is a very powerful unit. It can attack ground and air, and it also does splash damage from its attack. So not only do they have a high damage output, they also have an extremely strong shield. They have hardly any health, but it takes a long time to get through the shield. You can see its shield is 350. If we compare that to the Zealots, it's only 50. So they are very powerful. Another very important unit that you can get early in the game is the Mothership Core. All you need for this is the Cybernetics Core. And it can do 3 things. It can do Photon Overcharge, which turns your Nexus into a cannon with quite a long range for 60 seconds, so that's extremely useful for defending your base. It can also do Mass Recall. Now this means that if there are any units underneath the Mothership Core, it will teleport them and the core back to a selected Nexus, so you get to choose which one you go to. So if your units are all about to die, or if your units are way across the map and your buildings are getting attacked, you can recall back straight away. And the last thing they can do, the cheapest energy-wise, is the Time Warp. This just puts a shield down on the ground and it will slow any of the enemy's ground units which are inside it. So right now I'm being attacked and I've activated my photon cannon. So you can see there's a big light bulb on top of my Nexus and it is shooting at these units down here. I've also got some cannons you can see, it's shooting at similar things. Protoss are all about big blue lights. So the last building you can see that is greyed out, we need a Stargate. You can see requirements there, the Stargate. That is the last thing we need to get. So we'll get that. This can create several flying units which are pretty different in the way that they are used. So now our Stargate's done, we've got a choice of 3 units. We've got the Phoenix, which is extremely good at taking out air units, and it's very fast. So this is the unit that if you were using Hallucinate that we talked about earlier, if you wanted to scout, you'd make a Phoenix and it could fly very quickly over your opponent's base to see what's going on. Next we have the Oracle, which is very focused on energy and spells. It can attack both air and ground units, but it has to use energy in order to attack ground units because it switches its mode, which continually drains energy. And once you run out, you can't attack the ground anymore. So I'll make one of those to show you the kind of spells that they can do. Now we've got the Oracle out, you can see that it's got an energy bar here, that's in purple. And it can do 3 things. The most common thing that the Oracle will be using is the Pulsar Beam, and this is what I talked about, that you can activate it, and it drains, you can see 1.4 energy per second. And that means that it can attack enemy ground units while that is activated. It also has Envision, which means that the Oracle, for a short time, 60 seconds, becomes a detector. So any cloaked or burrowed units near the Oracle will be detected. So the last thing we have is Revelation, and this goes down in a target area. So you can see here, quite a large area. So you can put this down on an enemy or an ally, not yourself though. An enemy or an ally unit or structure, and for 60 seconds you will be able to see that unit or structure even if you have nothing near it. So even if they go out of vision, you can mark an army to keep an eye on them. So if we go over here and use it on this army over here, you can see it connects to all of them. They've all got the light above them now. And if I move away, I can still see these units, even though I don't have anything over here that would usually grant me vision. So I'll be able to see them no matter where they go for 60 seconds. And that is really useful if your opponent is very active with their army, if they have them all over the place and you need to know where they are so that you can properly defend yourself. And the last one is the Void Ray, which is a very powerful unit. It can attack ground and air, and it can also use an ability so that it does more damage versus armoured units and structures. Now the last things that are greyed out here are the Tempest and the Carrier, and to be able to make that you need the Fleet Beacon, which I pointed out earlier. Here you can see you can build that now, and once you get that you can create your top tier sky units. The first of which is the Tempest, which can attack both ground and air, and has a very long range. It is really good for being able to attack things without them being able to attack back, because they just can't get close enough. Last is the Carrier, which can also attack ground and air, but it doesn't actually attack itself. It builds things called interceptors, and these fly out from the Carrier. They fly around a swarm of the enemies and attack them. And unless you actually target the Carrier yourself, your units will automatically go for the interceptors, which is why they're really good, because if your opponent is not paying too much attention, the Carrier could take no damage whatsoever. So that's it for all the Protoss basics. That's how you go through and unlock all your structures and units. Obviously there are strategies where you'd want to go a certain way. You don't always want to unlock everything. Generally, beginning the game, you always want to get Gateway Cybernetics Core straight away, unless you're building a Nexus first. So my next video for Protoss will be covering more of why you would want to go for certain buildings, what kind of strategies most commonly used. But that's just the basics of how everything tiers up and how the health, the shields and the energy all work. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.